Okay, bye.
Bye.
Hello, Leapers, and welcome to the Women Who Lead panel. We've got some awesome ladies here that are going to share a bit more about their stories and how they got to where they are today. I'm really, really excited because they're all doing their thing and just so many different aspects of life. And I'm excited for the opportunity to chat with you all today. It's been a while since we've been able to see each other's faces. Really, really excited. So thanks all for tuning in. For those I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Marti Reed, and I've been involved with LEAP as a coach, as a speaker, and as a mentor for the past decade now. And, without the impact of women role models in my life that I met after going through this conversation today, listening to the Women Who Lead conversation, there were so many aha moments from that conversation. So I'm excited to, really bring the real to you today. It's like a Red Table Talk LEAP edition, right? So we're going to have some fun. And this conversation is led by women about women who are leading. So thanks for joining us. And without further ado, I want to introduce our awesome panelists. We have Maeva Heim. She's the founder and CEO of Bread Beauty Supply, a hair care line providing simple, clean, and contemporary products for all hair types, focused on women of color. Bread was the first of 2 Australian brands to be selected for the Sephora Accelerate program and launched on Sephora.com and at 100 plus Sephora USA stores. Okay, Bread is now available in over 300 Sephora stores in the USA, Australia, and New Zealand, and has won over 18 beauty awards. Sheesh. So excited to have you, Maeva. Thanks for joining us.
So happy to be here and nice to see you, Marti.
Good to see you too. We have Zoya Shams. And Zoya is in her 2nd year at dental school at Marquette University School of Dentistry. And Zoya was a licensed dental assistant before graduating high school and has traveled internationally to volunteer, providing medical and dental assistant to under-resourced populations. She represents her university at a Forbes conference and was the first student at her university to conduct an independent public health study abroad. She also has created a podcast with previous LEAP coaches by interviewing industry experts and promoting intercultural conversations. Thanks for being here, Zoya.
Hello, so happy to see you guys and be here.
Yes, awesome. And Aundria Littlejohn is a dynamic speaker, writer, and service-driven woman with a master's in communication focused on training and development. Littlejohn has partnered with a startup to decrease the maternal mortality rate of Black women. As a published author on It's the Block, Littlejohn works to amplify voices of Black creatives and entrepreneurs. Littlejohn is also a former Miss New Mexico Teen USA, and she sums up her career as in the business of changing lives. So we're excited to learn more from Miss Littlejohn. Thanks for being here.
Hi, friends.
And last but certainly not least, Amanda Meegan is an associate digital analyst at Walt Disney Company. She is passionate about helping others using data to solve problems and tell stories. Her research on cultural implications for international business has been presented at Harvard University, and she has previous international trade experience with both the California Governor's Office and the United States federal government. Amanda Meegan, thanks for joining us today. So good to see you.
Thanks, Marti. So good to see you.
I'm so happy that we're all here today and just seeing each other's faces and hearing each other's voices. It's been so long. And thanks all that are tuning in, whether it be live today through LEAP or after on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. We'd love for everyone to just share a bit more about what you do and how you landed in this career or current position. Let's start with Maeva.
For sure. Founder and CEO of Bread, which is a hair care brand. We launched in July of last year. So we just turned one. We've only been out in the world for a little while. And I guess how I landed here is a really, really long story, but I'll keep it short. So I grew up kind of in the beauty space. I grew up in my mum's salon. She had an African braiding salon in Australia in a really small town. So that was kind of like my childhood. I was like on the floor. I was like braiding hair, answering phones, sweeping the floor. And then I went on to have a career in beauty marketing. And it was kind of while I was there and, you know, in a big multinational corporation and behind the scenes of that I realized that there really weren't very many beauty brands speaking to Black and brown women in a really contemporary way. And there was a real lack of not just product, but also brand experience. And so I ended up, you know, wanting to take my know-how and go out and create a brand that would really drive the industry towards a much more diverse future. And a lot of that decision making actually happened as part of LEAP. You know, I was at LEAP for I think 3 years, or maybe even 4. I've been at LEAP a couple of years, just like visiting as well. And a big part of, you know, that experience was realizing that I needed to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And that I had to have, you know, that ultimate goal at the end, and like, what do I want my life to look like in 50 years, and what impact do I want to have? And it really led me back to, I love business. I'm in the beauty industry. I have the know-how. I can see this problem. I want to help people. And I felt like I could take the skills that I have and the things that I enjoy doing to create something that is commercially successful, so that I have the resources and the ability to help people in a really impactful way. And bread is really just the vehicle to get there. And it came about because, you know, after I left my job, I was exploring lots of different beauty categories. And I ended up kind of having this experience where my chemical relaxer exploded in a suitcase and didn't have access to get another one. Decided to go back to my natural texture, which is like 4C, very curly, and wanted products that were designed for my hair, because my hair was chemically straight since I was 6 years old. I'd never had to use curly textured hair products. And when I did that, I realized there were just not enough brands that were really modern and really spoke to this woman that I was seeing online, which was me and my peers and people younger. And the brands that I was seeing, I was like, these are like your mum's brands. These aren't like for this woman. And there was just a real disconnect. And I wanted to create something that was really simple, that existed in mainstream beauty, like a Sephora, and kind of just went about building bread from there.
Wow, incredible. You found a problem and a solution to that problem, and it's purpose driven. I really love that. And thanks for mentioning LEAP. I don't know if I mentioned this in the intro for everyone, but each and every one of us, there's a former LEAP student and a coach. So the impact there is really strong. Thanks for sharing. Zoya, tell us a little bit about more, you know, what you're doing now and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. I'm starting my 2nd year of dental school, and honestly, it was not an easy journey to get here. I always had a passion for dentistry. I loved going to the dentist. Everyone was scared, but I was not in that same vibe. I loved going to the dentist, but I did a lot of work abroad, and I had a lot of different opportunities, whether it was shadowing. LEAP actually helped me a lot with confidence, which I think is a big, important lesson and takeaway that I took to make those next steps in my career, and how to stand out in the career and be like one of a kind and not just like every other student. And I had to take a dental admissions test, and I applied, but a big part of the dental application and everything is so many other experiences. And I found so much joy, I realized, through not only dentistry, but traveling and studying abroad. We mentioned earlier, started a podcast, and Amanda's also on the podcast. So just finding so many different ways to make every day so much fun has been great, because dental school is not easy, but I'm just trying to find the little things that make me happy and do other things. So it's been quite the journey so far.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing. And Amanda, tell us a bit more about what you're up to and how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah, well, I think the first person I need to thank for where I am right now is Marti, because if it weren't for her time management system, I would not have had the time to do anything that I've been up to these past few years. I think it really just set off something in me when I was able to just empower myself to say, I have this many hours in a day, if I plan it right, I can do all these things. And so I was kind of the person in college that was like, I'm going to do a ton of clubs. I'm going to do a ton of internships during the school year. I'm going to take lots of classes, but I'm going to be smart about it, schedule my time the right way so that I'm not burning out, that I still have time to make meaningful relationships. And through those meaningful relationships, that is really what opened the career door for me. So my position at Disney is 50% business and like 50% tech. So I'm at a really interesting part where I'm a bit of a connector. So I connect the people on the tech side to business information and people on the business side to some of the technical stuff and the data and the numbers. And so for me, being able to just help people understand and be that connector between gaps of knowledge is really empowering. And I wouldn't have even learned that this sector existed if it wasn't for, again, like Zoya said, the confidence that LEAP gave me to go out, to meet with professionals, to talk to people, to ask about their careers. And through meeting different people, I found a lot that I didn't want to do. I heard some people talk about their jobs and I realized, hey, this might not be for me. I might have been over glamorizing this part of business because I always knew I wanted to do business, but it wasn't until I met with some people and I got to hear what they did. And I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. This fits perfectly. One of those people ended up reaching back out to me to get me this job. And so I think one of the things that LEAP does really well is, as you guys will see through this week, it teaches you how to be really put together, have a really positive presence, whether that's in person when you're meeting people or online. I mean, Aundria's done it as a contestant at national pageants. So if she can do it through some of the ways that LEAP teaches you, that's just something that you can take with you everywhere. Having a put together LinkedIn, coming across, like we said, on time, and just being someone who's really warm and pleasant to be around. When I went through LEAP the first time, I was really intimidated by that. I was like, that seems like a lot, that seems really hard. But as you lean on your LEAP coaches and the people at the program, you'll find a really great support system who's going to push you to keep doing that beyond this program.
So good. And also you have an awesome background. I see your Star Wars background. I had to give that a quick shout out too. I think that's super cool. But thanks for sharing the life lessons that you took away from LEAP as well, and just surrounding yourself with the right people to help you get into the right rooms or where you want to go, and making those decisions along the way, the right decisions. So we're going to dive into that a bit more as well. But Aundria, would love to hear a bit more about what you're up to. I see you're in New York now.
I know we're in a big
Fabulous.
city. I love it. To touch on what Amanda kind of said earlier, everything that you're learning at LEAP now, it might seem so small and insignificant, but literally I'll even be doing things in my life today and be like, that's a LEAP principle. And then kind of laugh, whether it's like making my bed. And I know that sounds like weird, but I think I've made my bed every day since I've gone to LEAP. And that was in 2015. I'm still doing it. But there's little moments. I had a really awesome interview with this startup tech company, and then I wrote a thank you note, and it was just secondhand to me. These are all things that you continue to learn and will continue to do as second nature. But so something we didn't mention, my actual job. So I am a lead supervisor at Coach, now officially on Hudson Yards in New York. And this is a job that I have been at for 6 years. So I started as a part-time, like 2 days a week. I mean, like I was a sophomore in college working in Phoenix, Arizona. I went to Arizona State, go Devils. And I loved it. And I thought it was just going to be, a cute little part-time gig. Didn't think much into it because I wasn't really sure what else there was, to offer me. As I started to grow in the brand, I realized this could actually be a career and I could really be great at it. That allowed me to move to Charlotte, North Carolina. Ended up in Charlotte, North Carolina at 22 years old, was a manager. And that was a kind of intimidating to me. How do you be a manager at 22 years old and all the people that you're managing are at least 10 years older than you? And yet there are tips and tools that we've learned through LEAP and that you'll continue to learn that have allowed me to kind of be successful in that field. Again, big shout out to Marti because she's listened to all of my problems and has helped me through so many things at this point. And then when I realized that I wanted to get to New York, I set up a game plan with myself, with my store manager, and with my district manager. And I think this is conclusive for anything that you want to do in life. I knew what I wanted and I knew how I was going to go after it, but I was also patient. I knew that it wasn't going to happen right away. And then COVID hit. So I wasn't sure it was going to happen at all. And then it did. So I literally on January 1st, I made a vision board, which if you have not made your vision board, you should make a vision board. It's not too late. I made a vision board on January 1st and I put New York and I put Coach on my vision board. On January 18th, I got a phone call that said, hey, we have an opening at Coach Hudson Yards. Do you want to interview? And by January 23rd, I had the job. So it happened very quickly, but it was something that I was adamant about working towards, praying on, and just being consistent with it. About consistent behavior really brought me here. And then just as far as everything else that I'm doing, I've always been a writer, and being able to be published for the first time in this last year, even in the midst of a pandemic, was really exciting because, again, so many things were shut down, but the internet wasn't. So I was able to share my voice in a way where people were listening and people were responding. And every time I think that nobody cares, somebody else reaches out to me and is like, hey, I needed to hear this today. So you just never know who's listening. You never know who's around you and who's paying attention. But yeah, now I'm super proud to say that in addition to doing these jobs and working at Coach and being a writer, one of my big just life focuses right now is, like Marti said, decreasing the mortality rate of Black women. Black women go into hospitals and they don't always come out alive, and that's not okay for me. And while I don't necessarily have the healthcare component and aspect to it, I'm very strong in my communication knowledge. And so this goes to all of the people that have studied a social science in school. There is a space for you. We need you. You just have to find your niche. That's it.
I love that. That's so important. Finding your niche, right? Finding what you want to do. And honestly, LEAP is going to give you the steps to get there. It's going to help you with that roadmap, right? When I first came to LEAP, it was in 2010. I don't want to age myself, but I remember I wanted to be an architect. You couldn't tell me I wasn't going to be an architect. Like, I had figured out I'm going to be an architect. This is what I'm going to do. Boom, boom. I remember sitting down doing our informational interviews, sitting down with architect after architect after architect, and then realizing I don't want to be an architect, you know? So I'd love to know if anyone has had an experience where you like had a shift in your passion, when you realize, actually, I don't think this is what I want to do. So can you share with any stories that you've had where you ended up going a completely different way and what that transition was like?
Marti, I can jump in on this real quick. So to give y'all a little bit of background, as Marti previously said, I'm a former Miss New Mexico Teen USA. I've done 3 years in the Miss America organization. Pageantry was my life for 6 years, and my undergrad is in political science. I was dead set on going to law school. And then I talked to attorneys and I was like, no, nay, I do not like that life. That does not sound fun. I thought it was going to be, glamorous like Olivia Pope. It's not. And if that's for you, awesome. But I realized it wasn't for me. I realized what I was strong at was public speaking. Pageantry shaped me to be a public speaker. LEAP shaped me to be a public speaker. And these are things that I wanted to craft and to mold and then to use in my life. So when I decided about 1.5 years ago that I wanted to advance my education, I realized that the best thing that I could do for myself was to go into something that was going to make sense for me, not what everybody else was saying, but for me. Everybody else in my life will tell you I meant to be a lawyer or, on TV, or a journalist, anything else. That's not what I want. I have a desire to go into healthcare communication. I could not have told you that confidently even 1 year ago because I was listening to everybody else. But the moment I said, what do I like? What am I passionate about? And what am I good at? Like, that's the key. I think Christian Johnson said it once a couple of years ago. Find what you're good at and what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. And I'll never forget that. And I always laugh because a lot of people just say, oh, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. No, you have to also find what you're good at too. Know what you have a strength in as well. I know that I have a strength in speaking. I know that I have a strength in written and verbal communication. And I know that Black women are dying. It's a problem I want to solve. It's a skill that I have. Put those two together and what do you get? A perfect harmony. So I thought I knew what I wanted in college. That's a lie. I don't think anyone really knows what they want in college, but trust me, once you graduate, life will hit you full force and you realize it is okay to change your mind. I promise. It's not the end of the world.
Right. We're on a constant process of discovering, right? Discovering who we are and what we want. And, that can change. Does anyone else have any examples of having that shift? Zoya,
yeah, I wanted to hop in on this one because I think it's super important how you said discover new passions. And I knew when I was a junior or senior in college that, like, yes, I do want to be a dentist, but I think my biggest fear is just being a dentist and doing the same thing kind of every day. And I realized, wow, after traveling and for so many classes, like, I realized I've been able to go to Brazil, South Africa, Australia, Nicaragua, and Panama all throughout undergrad when I was told that I probably won't have the time to study abroad and probably can't with my major, but I was able to make that happen. And I realized through all these trips, like, wow, like I really love healthcare policy. I really love like government work and like that kind of space and advocacy. And I realized like, but not many dentists are in high leadership positions. And I realized like, how can I take what I learned abroad and utilize it towards dentistry? And something LEAP teaches you how to do, which is amazing, is create your own opportunities. And this was a big thing for me, being able to create my own independent public health study and creating that experience for myself where I was able to go to Perth, Australia and study these things. And it was awesome because when I came back, I was like, okay, how can I apply this here? So then I was able to create my own internship with the American Dental Association and work in government affairs. And that has helped me so much because I realized like, wow, I really love public health, and all of the work I did abroad, it was public health policy and dentistry. And like Aundria just said, it's like finding what you're good at and putting those two together, you know, and that's what I was able to do because I took those skills into dental school. And it was a big thing coming into dental school with that experience with the ADA because not many people have it. And as of like a month ago, I was elected our president of our chapter for the American Student Dental Association, which I'm really excited about because it's one step closer to like putting those passions together and not just being like the traditional dentist. So I think it's super important to keep discovering different passions and how you can make it work. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We have to constantly continue to ask questions, be curious, and, you know, be open-minded to having some pivots. Everything's not going to look exactly the way you think it is right when you start off, right? Sometimes our plans change, and, you know, managing those expectations can be tough, but having right people surrounding you in that process is important. And when we talk about it, LEAP, you know, flocking with eagles, right? And surrounding ourselves with positive people and actually getting mentors. That's one of the big things that we talk about here. Who's been the biggest mentor? Let's say for Amanda, who has been your biggest mentor, and how are you able to go about building that relationship and what you learn from them?
It's a great question, Marty. I first of all want to advocate that I think it's totally okay to have multiple mentors too for different purposes. So I'll talk about my general mentor and why I think that person has been so impactful for me. So sophomore year, I took an accounting class. I studied marketing. I wanted nothing to do with accounting. But that accounting professor had a lot of life lessons in his class because he used to be a CFO of a Fortune 500 company. And he had a lot of things to interject throughout the class about making good life decisions, about making business decisions as a working professional. And although I wasn't super interested in the accounting, I was fine-tuned into what he was saying about life advice because this was someone who's achieved so much success, and they also had some really great morals that they would interject too. And so I built a relationship with him by going to his office hours, which for all my rising college students, go to office hours if you are struggling in a class. They are there to help you. It is not uncool to do well in school. So just take advantage of office hours. They're great. They've saved me multiple times. But from going to these office hours, I got to tell him, I'm really interested in some of the work you did before you decided to become a professor. Like, what was it like working in those companies and those environments? And he'd tell me more and more. And when he found out that through my honors program, I had to do an honors thesis, he was like, look, I'm an accounting professor. I know you want to do your thesis on international business, but I was a CFO of a company and I've worked in over 6 countries. I want to be your mentor if you'll let me. And I was like, absolutely, say less, I'm down. And by having him as a mentor, he has taught me a concept called road signs. And so if life is a highway, you know, the Rascal Flatts song, there's going to be road signs that come up. And some people might tell you to take the quicker exit, get off sooner, but your GPS might say, hey, you're going for 10 more minutes. Don't take the exit so soon. There's an accident off that exit. You don't want to get off there. And kind of like what we were just talking about with Marty talking about the pivots and what comes up, just one example where I didn't expect I was going to pivot was when I picked my university. I picked it because there was an advertising program. I was like, I am going to be the next Hollywood marketer. I want to advertise for movies. And so I spent 3 years of college waiting to apply to get into this advertising program because they let you in at the end of your 3rd year. I got there and I hated it. I hated it. And I felt like the biggest fool because I spent 3 years looking forward to it. And I had to sit there and I had to reckon with it. And I was like, well, it was exclusive to get in. I put so much energy into getting here. What am I supposed to do? And I went to my mentor, and my mentor was like, if your signs are telling you to get off the exit, it's time to get off the exit. And ever since I took that exit off, I have not looked back. I switched to a field that was a lot more aligned with my interests, which was combining business with data. And that has obviously opened the door to the career that I'm in today. And if it weren't for that person who I originally didn't know would be such a value to my life, but I was open to hearing what they had to say and the wisdom they had to give me, I wouldn't be where I am today. And so I guess my advice to all the women here is do not write off anyone as a potential mentor. Really, really take the chance when you're in the room with people who have done cool things to ask, to be interested, because oftentimes some really interesting people get overlooked just because other people aren't interested maybe in what they present up front. But when you really make an effort to get to know people and see what they have to offer, you can unlock some really cool knowledge.
So powerful. And I think it's important, that point you made, not to tune anyone out as a potential mentor. Anyone can teach you something. You can learn something from everyone. And also, I think, I don't know if everyone can relate to me on this, but a lot of the mentors that I had in the past were males, because I'm in the sports industry, and representation matters. And oftentimes there wasn't females, people that looked like me in positions of leadership that I was chasing after. So a lot of males had to advocate for me and advancing me in my career as well. So I hope there's men listening in as well now, knowing their role in advancing women in career and in life, and how that's important as well. But I think some people might be listening in and say, well, these ladies all have it figured out. They know what they want to do, this and that. But let's talk about the challenges. It's not all easy, right? We do face struggles, we face challenges, we face moments of doubt, especially when you're walking in rooms. You might be the only female in the room, or, learning how to advocate for yourself. Maybe can you talk to us a bit about maybe some of the biggest challenges that you face, navigating to where you are today, and how you were able to overcome that?
Yeah, I think that it's a really good point, because it appears as though like we've all got it together, but it was like a really long slog to figure out exactly what I wanted to do and how to like bring all of the pieces together. And I struggled with that for years. And I remember thinking like, time's ticking, you got to get moving. But I think, I really liked what some of the ladies said about just like taking your time and like discovering what you want to do. Honestly, that was my biggest challenge, was just like trying different things. And, I'm like Aundria, I was supposed to become a lawyer, and I spent 5 years studying a law degree, and then realized, oh, no, I don't want to do that. So that was a huge struggle. And I think that it's important not to put so much pressure on yourself or really be hard on yourself about it, and just give yourself the space and the time to figure out what you want to do by figuring out what you don't want to do, and being open to different possibilities. And then I think, some of the other struggles are, for myself specifically, being in entrepreneurship and having a business, it's daily. You really have to be very, very specific about wanting to become an entrepreneur, and like, this is what you want to do for the next however many years of your life. And you have to really, really, really care about what you're doing, because it's like, your job is just putting out fires. Like, it's not, the glamorous, like doing interviews and appearing here and being on this list and all of that. That's like 1% of the job. 99% of the job is putting out fires, solving problems, dealing with issues, whether it's commercial issues, legal issues, product issues. There's just so many things that can and do go wrong, that you have to be really resilient, and you have to actually really want it. So I feel like entrepreneurship is one of those things where it's like, yeah, you could try it, but you really have to get like deep in it and know that it's what you want to do, and what you're working on, the business that you're building, like, you have to care about it so much, which is why it's so important to have that like purpose. Like, you can't just be building a company for the sake of building a company and selling some things. Like, build something around that, so that when those challenges do come up, you understand why you're doing it, and it's much easier to kind of like work through them and realize like, no, we just have to and figure out a way around this, and it really is the only way.
Yes, that's important. You know, putting out fires, understanding that a lot of people, they see the end goal, right? They see you on the top of the mountain, they see the success, they don't know the, you know, commitment that it takes, the sacrifice that it takes, the person that you have to commit to being in order to get to where you want to go. You know, that's a daily decision, right? And we got to be consistent in that effort. And I think one of the hardest things for me, or biggest challenges that I've had to overcome just as I'm continuing to level up in my life and in my career, is learning how to advocate for myself. You know, I think it's one thing to put in the work, you know, and let those actions speak louder than words. But I also know that closed mouths don't get fed. And when it comes to advancing in my career, leveling up, I have to be ready to, you know, speak up for what I want and what I work hard for, and be able to negotiate salaries and compensation and positions and benefits and those types of things. Because oftentimes people will take advantage of your abilities and let you do all the work and not compensate you for it, right? Or keep you in a box because it benefits them or the company, to have you stay where you are rather than advancing you, right? And moving up. So learning how to advocate for myself and knowing my worth and being strong enough to, let's say, walk away from an opportunity that no longer served my purpose or what I was called to be here to do, was probably the biggest challenge that I'm still learning how to do in my process.
Marti, can I bring up two things?
Yeah.
Oh, so sorry, Maeva, you can finish up.
No, I was just going to say, like, that's so interesting because I'm the same. Like, I struggle with that as well. And I still do struggle with asking for what I want and being direct about what I want. And one thing that I try to implement in order to get over that is, I can't remember who like said this to me. It might have even been someone at LEAP, but was like, but are you going to die? And I'm like, no, I'm not. If you ask for that thing, are you going to die? No. And so the worst that can happen is somebody says no, and then you kind of figure out another way to go about it. So that gives me a lot of confidence to be like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just like, let go of the ego and let go of any like embarrassment or anything that you might feel about asking for what you want, and just like going for it.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and like straight off of what Maeva was saying, you know, we go through life saying, what's the worst thing that could happen? I'm going to challenge every person right now to start saying, what's the best thing that could happen? Because when you just start switching your mindset on what is the best thing that could happen in the situation, even if you get a no, the best thing that could happen is I learned to ask for it. Like, people ask me, how have you gotten to where you are today? Because I asked. I ask a lot of questions. I ask how, I ask why, I ask when, I ask where, I ask who. I do not stop asking until I understand it with full clarity so that I can teach it to somebody else. That's number one. Number two, if you don't think you're being paid enough, you're probably not asked for more money. Guarantee your counterpart's probably getting paid more. Ask for more. There was a budget there somewhere. If you're in an interview and they're talking about compensation, ask them what their budget is for somebody in this position. And if you know that you are fully qualified for this position, ask for more. What's the best thing that could happen? They say, oh, sorry, we can't give you 25% more, but we can give you 20. Great, that's 20% more than what you were even hoping for. Number two. Number three, last thing, because this is super real when we talk about challenges, and I feel like we always brush over it. Mental health is real, guys. And to be super frank with you, I'm a very anxious person, very anxious. So when people text me, I need to tell you something, I'm on pins and needles until you tell me, you know, or I'm the person that if a new thing comes up and I have to learn something new, I'm anxious about learning it all the time. These are things that I know about myself. I get paranoid very easily. I can fall into bouts of depression, and it's something that I have to consistently work through. Everyone might see this glamorous lifestyle of me living now in New York and in Brooklyn and like having fun and shooting this content, and it might be great on Instagram. You don't see the tears that I cry. You don't see the moments where I'm asking myself, am I really even supposed to be here? You don't sit in my therapy sessions with me. And yes, I think therapists are so worth it. Pay the money. 10 out of 10 recommend. But those are the moments where that's where a winner is made. Recognizing that not all of it is rainbows. There are going to be moments where it's going to be a whole lot of rain. And the beautiful thing is that's how rainbows come about, is after all of that rain. And so if you are ever in a situation where you just feel it's all too much, first of all, know that you're not alone, that there are so many people that also go through that, but also there's help and there's resources. I'm sure every single woman on this call is willing to extend that hand. Reach out to us, reach out to anybody at LEAP, your coach. We can connect you to the right people to get the help that you need. But I don't want to brush over that idea that our mental health is not important, because it is, because that right there, that could save your life, not just your job, not just your career, your academic career, that could save your life. And so just know that that's so important. I just didn't want to brush over that, because I know that's something I've dealt with and we don't talk about it enough.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I have on here, I was going to ask about mental health too. I mean, I have so many things I want to cover with this small time that we have together. So many things. I mean, we have young people listening in right now. We have high school students. So I do want to take us back in time, and would love to know, if you had some advice to give to your 16-year-old self, what would you say? What advice would you give to your younger 16-year-old self?
I would tell myself, do not compare yourself to anyone else. That is my biggest thing, because I struggled a lot to get to where I am from. I am not good at school. It may look like I am because I'm in dental school, but I was not a bright, sharp student. I worked really hard, but things did not come to me easy. Yes, I failed exams and so many things, but I think it's so easy, in high school, to compare yourself, oh, they're going to this college, they're doing this, why am I not doing that? Whatever, you start to compare yourself and it becomes toxic, and you need to remember and take a step back. What do you like to do? What is your focus and goal? And I also just wanted to bring up failure, and you never really fail what you learn about at LEAP. You just continue to grow and do better. And I think that's such an important point, because once you get to college, people get really scared easily. If they fail a class, or oh, chem is the scary class, and then they back out. They're I'm not good enough to do this. This is I failed in this class. What do I do now? And then they don't you lose the confidence. And I just wanted to say don't give up, because there's such a brighter road ahead. I did not do well on my first dental admissions test, and I was told by the admissions counselor, hey, why would I pick you when I have a student with a higher GPA and a higher score? Come back to me with a score of a 20. And I was okay. And then it took a lot of discipline, and I came back with even higher than a 20. And I just think it's important, don't give up. There's so much more in the process. So just keep your head up high.
Great. Don't give up. Failure is a part of the process, and don't compare yourself to others. That's what I got from your 16-year-old self. Thank you for that advice. How about you, Amanda?
I would say, don't be afraid to be exactly who you are, even if you think it'll lose you some friends, because I'm telling you, if you're pretending to be someone else, that's no fun. And it is so much more fun to be exactly who you are and have the people who love you for you attract to you.
Yeah.
Before I came to LEAP, I don't know if Zoya or Aundria remember me, the first day at LEAP 2015, I was probably the shyest kid in the room. And now Zoya, Aundria, and Marti have known me for many years, and I'm the loudest kid in the room, because that's exactly who I am. But when I was younger, I felt the need to fit in with the people I was around. And as soon as I got to LEAP, I realized none of them mattered. Dr. Bill has this one quote, and he says, guess what other people have planned for you? Not much. These people do not have much planned for you. So why waste your time being anyone but exactly who you are? Because the right people are going to gravitate towards your energy, and you're going to be surrounded by friendships that really fulfill you, that push you to be better. You're going to be surrounded by people who, especially at LEAP, lean on these people at LEAP who are excited about the future, who have big things planned, who aren't just trying to sit around and watch TV all day, but they're trying to get around a problem, really dive into what they're passionate about, figure out what impact they want to make on the world. Of course, they watch TV sometimes. I'm not saying that it's not okay. You don't always have to be on, but the right friends are
with time management. They know when to do it.
Yeah, they know. You guys know. But the right friends are going to make you the best version of yourself. And if you're sitting there, like I was saying, I don't have those people around me, I have no choice but to put on a face and fit in. As soon as you start being yourself, the wrong people will weed themselves out, and the right people are going to think you're so cool that they have to be around you.
Mhm. I love that. Be authentically yourself. That's so good. And I think that's hard to do when you're young, and fitting in is everything and wanting to be a part of it, wanting to feel like you belong, right? So, what are some advice when you're dealing with difficult people? Let's think back to your younger days, let's say in college, 21 years old. Have you ever had situations when someone you thought was your friend maybe mistreated you or hurt you? How did you handle that? How do you bounce back from those moments? Because it's hard.
Let's see, I'll be honest, I'm going through that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a full grown adult. and I am sitting in a space where a really good friend of mine really hurt me. And quite honestly, I think the word I could use is betrayed me, if I'm being frank with y'all. And it took me a minute to kind of realize that, because I was so used to being a people pleaser that I didn't realize that I too could get hurt. Yeah. And once I realized that I was hurt, my initial reaction was anger, and I didn't want to respond out of anger. I wanted to respond, however, out of love and kindness, and let them know that they, in fact, hurt me. And she and I had a conversation. And I told her, I said, hey, the thing that you did, while it might have been okay to you, this is how it adversely affected me. And you might not have considered me in the situation. And I can understand that. But now that I'm bringing this to you, I hope that the behavior can change. And so I think the biggest thing when dealing with difficult people, especially as women, and I'm going to say this specifically to women, be firm. Know what you want and be firm. People are going to think that we're mean, we're rude anyway, whatever. Take all that and toss it to the side. Be firm anyway. Stand up for yourself anyway. Marti said it best. Self-advocacy is the best thing that you can do for yourself in any situation, especially when you're dealing with people who are trying to maybe misuse your words or manipulate your words. Know what you say. And I think the best piece of advice is mean what you say and say what you mean. Mm-hmm. In every situation that you do, especially with difficult people. If you keep it concise and you keep it exactly to, this is why you hurt my feelings, and this is what happened, and this is the behavior I would like to see change, how can anybody argue that? Mm-hmm. You can't, because you argue with facts. You don't argue with emotion. That's another thing. That was one thing I did learn while I was trying to be a lawyer. You argue with facts, not emotion. And I think the same goes even in situations where you're dealing with a friend. Before you get super emotional and passionate about it, start with the fact and the root of it. Why do I feel the way that I feel? And then how can I stop feeling this way? And so in my situation, when it came from a friend hurting me, I had to say, why do I actually feel the way that I am right now? And it came from, well, I thought we were friends. And what they did was not friendly behavior. How do I explain how I feel and communicate that effectively? That's the key there. How do we communicate effectively? And it's being able to understand how you feel, being okay with sharing your feelings. I know that's like a weird topic. Share your feelings. It's totally fine. It's the new wave, I think.
Brene Brown teaches us vulnerability.
Brene Brown says it's fine. We can be vulnerable. It's fine. Right. Strip it all back. But not only like share your feelings, but name your feeling. If you're angry, say you're angry. If you're hurt, say you're hurt. Whatever the feeling it is, you have to name it, because Marti can't read my mind. Amanda can't read my mind. You have to be able to tell people exactly how you feel in order to see change behavior, but be firm in all that you say. And even if your voice shakes, say it anyway.
Right. Yeah. And I think something you mentioned earlier, just like being that I personality, I think we're similar in that we're used to a lot of people liking us, so when you deal with someone or you have someone talking about you behind your back, and learning these life lessons where it's like, hey, you might not be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. When you're authentically yourself, you can be super positive and kind. You could smile often and say all the right things, so people still might not like you. And that's okay. And that's an adult life lesson that, I understand that now, but I think my 16-year-old self didn't really understand that. But I think that's something very important that those that are tuning in just need to understand and remember, that it's okay if you're not everyone's cup of tea. Focus on those that, really truly love you and that care about you and are authentic, right, with their relationship with you. And when you're courageous with your life, when you're out there doing things and trying to be the best version of yourself, you're going to be criticized. It's going to happen, right? You have to ask yourself, is this feedback coming from a reliable source? If it is, let me listen to the feedback and learn from it. But if it's not, bye, Felicia, keep moving, right? So we have to be able to recognize that and help, understand how we can move forward in those moments. But I do want to talk about, dealing with pressure and maybe just pressure. It could be from society, it could be from family, it could be from friends, wherever it might come from. Tell us about your experience of how you handle, going through those pressure moments and kind of rising above it or pushing through the fear in those moments and being that confident leader that you are. Maeva, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think probably for me, like some of the tactics that I use are similar to before, where it's like I have to really think about what I'm doing and almost disconnect from it and realize that like that fear response is like coming from somewhere that's not real. And really like recognizing within myself, like, where is that fear coming from? Like, it's not like I'm not going to die. I'm going into a pen of lions and about to be the death of me. And I think just having that frame of mind when I go into anything and realizing that this is a moment in time and there are moments after this, and once you get through this moment, like there's things on the other side, that always really just helps me to center myself and to ground myself and to be confident in, whether it's, presenting our strategy to like a team of 20 Sephora people or, doing different presentations for other partners and doing pitches and, pitching for funding and trying to get people to give you millions of dollars when I'm literally sitting here in my home office in Melbourne, Australia, and like speaking to venture capitalists in New York and like, yeah, give me $2 million. And I think just, having that frame of mind of like, this isn't the end of the earth and there's just so much beyond this one particular moment in time, really helps me to push through that fear. And it's still something that I like work through. I don't think you ever get to an end point where you're like, I got this, I got everything, everything's good. But yeah, just giving yourself that space to be like, it's okay to sit in this fear, but then to realize that this doesn't last forever. And that there's so much more to do and you just got to keep it moving.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't think the goal is to get rid of the fear. The fear will be there. If you care about something, you're going to feel it, right? We're going to feel the pressure. There's a thing called good pressure, right? And when you're trying to be the best version of yourself, we do put that pressure on ourselves, but it's how we're working through it. And I like how you said, getting back to center, right? Getting back to center and finding ways to do that. So yeah, did you want to add something too?
Yeah, you said pressure. I was like, I deal with pressure every day. I was like, practical exams today. I went over a practical I failed with my professor, and it's like crazy because we are criticized every single day by these doctors, and it's like not everyone's a nice person, and it's like having to just like adapt. Something we learned, like we talked about, is DISC and adapting to their personality and not taking anything too seriously, and it's just so important. Like a big thing I learned is grace under pressure, and kind of like what Maeva was saying, like I, in a really high stress situation, like 30 minutes to do this like tooth prep or whatever, and like just not enough time, and realizing like, okay, I can be really like anxious right now or just really try to get this done and look forward to going out with my friends after. And I think it all comes back to mental health with pressure, because dental school is such a high, fast pace. And a lot of people don't know that, like, I was taking 28 credit hours in the fall. Like, it was just insane. And it's so crazy. And you really have to make time for yourself, and time management so important, and just scheduling that like me time, like meditating. And it's so funny you mentioned Brene Brown. I'm reading Dare to Lead right now, so it was just
my girl.
I was like, oh my god. But yeah, I just think a big important thing is grace under pressure, and it's not the end of the world, and just look forward to positive things.
I like that, grace under pressure. I'm writing that down. So true. And I mean, we talk about, oftentimes I feel like women are expected to do it all, right? We're expected to do it all, balance work and social life and family and all the above. So can you guys share some of the ways that you help monitor your mental health, and help yourself to be able to juggle so many things at once, but still feel okay and still feel, that energy? How do you bring energy into your life And how do you keep yourself centered mentally? Who would like to go first? This is for anyone. Just
I
some
can
advice.
chime in.
Okay, go ahead.
Basically, my approach always goes back to planning my time. I feel really empowered when I'm able to look at my schedule and say, you know what, I've got back to back, but right here, I'm going to put 15 minutes and I'm going to call my best friend. I've had a really, really busy day. One time I did not have the time to call, but I knew for my mental health, I need to call in a friend. I need to go step outside, get some vitamin D, soak it in. I need to go get a coffee. I need to treat myself. And it's allowing yourself to say yes. I know some of our schedules don't allow us to say yes to those breaks all the time. But if that means you go home and you decide, I'm going to watch an episode of The Mandalorian, perhaps, shameless plug, you are able to really reclaim some of your day, I think, whether you schedule it the beginning of your day, the end of the day, or even in the middle, just allowing yourself to say, I will take a break at some point and recharge. Because as much as all of us on this call are busy people and we go, it's not without recharging and taking time for ourselves. Because I promise you, no one is superhuman, no matter how successful they're coming across. Everyone has the time to take for themselves if they allow it, even if it's a little bit, it's worth it to invest in yourself.
It's necessary, 100%. It's necessary. We have to be able to be full in order to feed others as well, right? So taking care of yourself first is so important. Mental health is so important. I also want to talk about social media. I mean, we can't have a conversation today. This is a digital world. We're in this social media world. What is your relationship like with social media? Everyone tell me what your relationship's like with it, and any advice you have for young people as they're growing up in this digital age.
You know, Marty, I'm on all the apps.
Yeah.
Like, as the kids say, I'm on all of them.
TikTok
and
too?
I'm on TikTok too. I know they got, because my
They
parents.
got you. They
My
got
parents
me. That's
got
how it
me.
feels.
They got me, dang. But I'll be honest with you. So part of it is part of my job. In addition to, like I said, working at Coach, I also am I'm an employee influencer for my company too. So I also shoot content, make TikToks, make reels, and promote things on my personal Instagram. And also in return, people buy. And something I've learned about social media in general, it rules the world right now, and it rules how you kind of do a lot of things. And at first I didn't realize, as I was posting this content and doing these things for Coach, would it even be a transferable skill if I were to go somewhere else? And then I realized, yes, it was, because they also track my, what they call earned media value. So they track when I post something, how much money am I making from each post? So now if I were to go anywhere else, I can say, hey, yeah, I'm worth a little over $30,000 in earned media value. This is what I bring to the table when I post on my Instagram. I didn't even, y'all, I don't even have that many followers. I have like 2,000 followers. Like, what? I didn't even know such thing as like micro influencing was even a thing, but it is. See, and that was one thing. And I was like, that's awesome. And also at the same time, even though I have an obligation to post and to do things, and they expect us to post once a week, I also take a lot of social media breaks because I physically and emotionally can't do it. And to be super honest, in last year, while we were looking and watching all the protests and all the riots, it was too heavy for me. It was too heavy and I couldn't hold it, and I didn't want to hold it. So guess what I did? I didn't hold any of it. I deleted all of my apps off of social media, and I told everyone, hey, if you want to reach me, you got my number. If you don't got my number, well, then you don't know me. So, don't reach me. And I think that's okay. Like, I know that the world is so consumed with Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and Twitter and all these things, but you can step away and the world's still going to keep turning. I promise you. It's you have to protect you in all of this too. And so if you need a week, take a week. If you need 24 hours, take 24 hours. And like Amanda was saying, we all have time in our day to have a little bit of ourselves in that. Sometimes you might not. Personally, I have a playlist on Spotify that I call New York City Main Character Playlist. So I can feel like the main character in my own movie when I'm walking down the street. And that, in the 5 minutes it takes for me to like walk from the train to my job, makes me feel so good and empowered to do my day. Little bits every day. And also I would challenge you, when you wake up in the morning, don't check your phone. Open a book or put on some music. But the more you can get out of the habit of opening up your phone, the better off you're just going to be further on down your life. I promise.
That's good advice. Anyone else have any direct advice, tangible things that they do to help monitor their social media intake and, making sure that they're staying mentally healthy on this platform and using it as a tool?
I was gonna say that I had such a problem with checking Instagram. Like, I don't know what it was. I'm just like, I was so addicted to Instagram, and it became such a problem when I was studying and stuff. And like, I would be like, oh my God, like just checking the likes and just stupid things. And like, I literally came to the point where I had to leave my phone at my house and then go to the library. Like, just had to leave my phone. And I don't know what it is, but there's something so liberating about like deleting the apps, even if it's just like for a week. Like, I just felt so free, like not having to respond to anyone or like streaks or anything like that. And then like, I feel like it's just like a cycle, like download and undownload. And I'm trying to figure out the perfect medium, because I'm just like, I'm wasting so much time, and even with the screen time. But I will say, I have learned so much on TikTok in the last year. Like, TikTok is amazing. Like, I love that app so much. And also LinkedIn. Everyone should download LinkedIn if you don't already. I've been able to network with so many awesome people on there, and I just feel like that is like one app that I will always stand.
So great. Thank you for that advice. And we're coming up quick on time here, but I'd love for everyone to just go around and, give us the biggest takeaway that you got from LEAP and how you still use that in your life today. I know it's hard to summarize it to one, but if you can think of maybe the biggest one or one of the biggest ones, and I guess I can kick it off. For me, it was obviously time management. That had a huge impact on my life. It's how I live, how I manage, how I feel sane. I'm a very active person, not just physically, but mentally as well. So having a planner to write things down, time block my day, making sure that I'm actively bringing the type of energy that I want in my life, not just managing my time, but also who I'm spending my time with, has been so important for my mental health, for my growth professionally, and all the above. And I owe that to LEAP. They really, really instill that in me, and I still use it today. And I don't think I can function without it. So who wants to go next? What's the biggest takeaway that you use today from LEAP?
My biggest takeaway is that successful people are willing to do things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do. That has just been in my head since 2015. And I think that's such a big takeaway. And also just having those eagles and the people that surround yourself with is so important.
Mine would be copy genius. Don't invent mediocrity. We've talked about having limited time, especially when you're busy, you're on your grind. If you've got something coming up, don't waste the time trying to figure it out yourself. If you know you can find a mentor who has been there, done that. And that is definitely not only just a time saver, but getting advice from the top is so much more valuable than taking months and months of your own time to get there. And who knows if you'll be successful. So definitely copy genius wherever you can.
Wait, now as everyone is saying theirs, I'm like, oh yeah, that's mine. I
know, I was like, let me do mine again. Let me go again.
Yeah, that's the one. No, it's that one. No, I'm good. No. There's just so many things, but I might just say, I'm going to say copy genius, because when Amanda said that, I realized that I wouldn't be here now, and I wouldn't have gone about bread the way that I did if I wasn't thinking about copy genius, because we managed to launch, and I don't think there's been any brand, unless it's like a celebrity brand or a influencer brand, we've been able to secure a launch contract with Sephora before we produced a single product. And part of that was because I'd read an article from Jen Atkin, who is like the Kardashian hairstylist, and obviously she's a bit of a celebrity and influencer, but she approached Sephora and was like, hey, I have this idea. Do you guys want to launch this product with me? And I was like, that's genius. I'm just going to copy that. So I kind of went about everything like that. And if I hadn't have been thinking about the LEAP principle, I think what's so powerful about copy genius is that it kind of gives you permission to be like, that person is a genius and I can do that too. And so, yeah, that's mine.
Oh goodness, Marty, just one. Okay, the first thing I guess that came to my head, and I remember seeing this on day one of LEAP back in 2015. It's on a poster board in the room. Why settle for mediocrity when you're capable of greatness? And I want everyone that's hearing this, whether you're watching it in real time or you're watching it back later, you can be first. If you are not in that room, or someone that looks like you is not in that room, or someone of your ability is not in that room, you can be first. Somebody has to be. So why can it not be you? And every day that you wake up, they're going to tell you, you get to pick your number. So put a 10 on your head. And even if you don't feel like a 10, if you feel like a 7, that's fine. But just know that the 3 is right there behind you. Go ahead and pick it up before noon, because you're going to need it. You're going to need it to do something later on in the day. But I think the biggest thing that comes out of this, don't settle for mediocrity when you're capable of greatness, is realizing that every single day that I'm doing something, like literally every day that I'm in New York, I literally go, wow, I live in New York. Mm-hmm. And that's because I didn't stop when people told me you will never make it. And trust me, a lot of people told me you will never make it. Whether it was I won't make it in New York, I won't make it in life. People told me I would never win a pageant. Your girl's got a crown. I made it in my own way, in my own time. Mm-hmm. You have everything that you have right now is all that you need to be just as great as you are. Mediocrity is not for you. Mediocrity is not for leapers. No, ma'am. Nope. Greatness is for us. We are exceptional individuals. That's why you are here. That's why you are listening to each and every one of us here, because somebody in your life wanted you to be exceptional. Prove them right and be great. Be great. Marti knows I call her all the time. I got so many questions for Marti. Marti's one of my mentors. Find your people and be great. Prove them all right. All the people that said you could do it, prove them right. Mm-hmm. I think you can do it, so prove me right. Go out there and do it. Do the dang thing. We're cheering you on. We're in your corner, 100%.
I love it. Words of inspiration. And I think just ending on that and understanding that everyone here is doing their own thing in their own ways, but you're all coming back, giving your time to reach back for the next person, right? And we talked about in the beginning how important representation is, and seeing someone that looks like you. We have diverse people on this call right now, people with different backgrounds, different life experiences, all in different fields, coming back to give back to others, because we want to see more women leading, right? We want to see more people in our place and where we are, and even excelling beyond where we are. So I think it's important to give back when you do make it, and reach back and help others get there as well. And that's what this is about. We're here to share and help everyone who's listening and find their why, find their purpose, their authentic self, and go for it. You heard it from these amazing ladies today. So much awesome advice. I hope that you're taking this to heart and you're using it and getting what out of LEAP, what it gives you, just like it gave so much to us. So thank you all for this experience. Thank you for being a part of our Women Who Lead panel conversation today. And we hope you've learned a lot from this today, and we'll see you soon. All right.
Yay.
Take care.